Republicans kicked off their national convention yesterday and presented a fairly bleak outlook of the country's future, according to many analysts. And in fact, they presented a bleak outlook should the Democratic candidate for president, Joe Biden, win the November election. Hours after the party formally nominated President Trump for a second term, Republicans took to the stage to praise his leadership over the last 4 years, everything from the handling of the coronavirus pandemic to his foreign policy accomplishments. The first night's programming also featured testimonials from healthcare workers, freed hostages, and a grieving parent of a shooting victim. Let's bring in Jenn Nassour and Joel Payne to break down everything that we saw last night. Jenn is a Republican strategist and the former chairwoman of the Massachusetts Republican Party, and Joel is a Democratic strategist and a CBS News political contributor. Good to see you both. Thanks for joining us. So, Jenn, this is really remarkable, I thought, and I don't know if it's unprecedented, but it does seem to be unique. The Republican Party this year opted not to adopt a policy platform this year. Instead, the party platform seems to be whatever it is that President Trump presents as his agenda, we're for that. So what is the party's central message, and doesn't it mean then that the party platform is essentially tied to the personality of just one individual? You know, in French, we say the state is me. It's something Louis XIV used to say, the state is me, l'état c'est moi. Are we seeing the same thing now with Republicans?
So first of all, thank you very much for having me, and good morning. I would say no. So as a former party chair, you kind of see things in a different light than maybe most other people see. So I presided over a convention, and I understand what the dynamic is when you have your delegates go and fight for the party platform priorities. And it's definitely a big distraction. And so I could see that the Trump campaign, he's the nominee. We knew he was the nominee. I could see how they don't want this to be a distraction, where we just need to focus on winning again and for Trump to be the president again for another 4 years. And that's what they were focusing on. So being in a big fight during a pandemic when the president has a lot of other things going on and the campaign is uber focused on reelection, the platform was not the most important thing.
So earlier we were talking to Caitlin Huey-Burns about the convention and how at times it almost seemed like sort of dueling messages, and you had these like speeches about the soaring, how sort of amazing this country is and you can be what you want to be, and then there were these other speeches about law and order and Joe Biden would sort of ruin this land, and I almost felt like Nikki Haley's speech was kind of like the embodiment of that in the beginning of her speech versus the end of her speech. So I want to play a little bit about what she had to say about her take on what would happen to this country should Joe Biden become the next president.
A Biden-Harris administration would be much, much worse. Last time, Joe's boss was Obama. This time, it would be Pelosi, Sanders, and the squad. Their vision for America is socialism, and we know that socialism has failed everywhere. They want to tell Americans how to live and what to think. They want a government takeover of health care. They want to ban fracking and kill millions of jobs. They want massive tax hikes on working families. Joe Biden and the socialist left would be a disaster for our economy. But President Trump is leading a new era of opportunity.
So, Joel, this one is for you. In terms of messaging, how does the messaging at this convention differ from the convention 4 years ago, now that the Republicans are the ones in the White House?
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack there, Anne-Marie. I don't really know what the Republican message is. And look, I'm a Democrat. I always tell people, look, I'm a partisan. Take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But I'll just say this. 4 years ago, part of the reason why Donald Trump won is because there was a simplicity and a consistency to his message. It was, make America great again, and it was these very acute, specific policy prescriptions that surrounded that, around, reviving the Rust Belt. There was a very simple, easy message. It was Hillary Clinton and the corporate Democrats and the, kind of corporate oligarchy, and Donald Trump is leading the populist movement. I don't know what their message is this time around. It feels like it's a redux of 4 years ago, but it's not updated. And it also ignores the most important thing that's going on in the world of any of us today. It's the reason why we're all sitting in remote locations. It's coronavirus. It seems bereft of any kind of policy prescription to address coronavirus, and it fully misses the moment. And I really think that's hurting the president, but maybe more importantly, and for people like Jen, it's hurting the rest of the party. If you're a Republican that has to run with Donald Trump, where do you run? If you're in a state like Maine, like Susan Collins, it's not safe for you politically to run with Donald Trump. That's going to hurt you. Cory Gardner in Colorado, it's very different. But Donald Trump has really created a lot of problems and a lot of challenges for people who are running with him. Even if he were able to squeak out a victory, he's created a lot of challenges for people to win in elections around the country.
What about that, Jen? I mean, I think it is interesting that you're not seeing any of the party leadership. You're not seeing any of these Republicans who are on the bubble for re-election appearing. Even, I was surprised that Lindsey Graham wasn't attending or part of this because he's such a vocal supporter of the president. Every opportunity he gets to tweet in support of President Trump, he does. It's striking that there are no former Republican presidents who are appearing at this convention. It does strike me that there are many who probably take issue with this cult of personality that has developed around the president, but don't want to seem to be going against the tide because in many instances the base is very, very strong. His base is very strong, but he's not attempting, at least over the last night that I saw, to expand beyond the base. And that's why you're not seeing a lot of these other Republicans, weighing in on this convention. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, you bring up an excellent point, and I think that you have to kind of dive into this more, right? Because what Trump needs is his base to definitely 100% be there for him. And you're right on a lot of these other Republicans who are kind of staying on the sidelines. But the point that I think everyone is missing is, as a Republican, I'm not voting for a Democrat. I'm not going to say, oh, I want Bernie Sanders policies, and I'm giving up my Republican principles and the policies that I appreciate. And so a lot of these Republicans, yes, they are. I mean, Susan Collins, amazing senator. I'm up in the Northeast, amazing senator. She's in a race. It's definitely different for her than it is for other people. But members of Congress have the same exact issue with Joe Biden, because it's not Joe Biden's policies, it's Bernie Sanders, it's AOC's. And so if we're going to look at this realistically, it's not just President Trump's policies, but are you going to actually abandon your Republican ideals and sign on to Bernie Sanders, which is where Joe Biden is going?
Jen, Vlad mentioned that he was surprised that he didn't see other speakers. And as you were talking, Vlad, I was thinking maybe that's because they ran out of time slots, because the president is appearing every single night and he's eating up a lot of time. But I thought to myself that when I saw that he was going to be appearing every single night, I wondered if this was about rallying the base. Was it more about him, because we've been told over and over again how these sort of appearances really sort of bolster his energy? Or was it about what Vlad is talking about, which is the Republican Party aligning itself more and more with an individual versus a larger platform? What's your take on that, Jen?
So I think that the president is his best tool. He knows exactly what he needs to do. I mean, he was a reality TV sensation. He was a businessman, right? So he understands how to command an audience. That's what he needs. That's what he wants. When you look at Nikki Haley, when you look at Vernon Jones, the Democratic state senator from Georgia, when you look at Andrew Pollack, who lost his daughter in a school shooting, when you look at Tim Scott, all of them were conveying a very different message. The president needed to do what the president needed to do to rally his base, because he is the best tool that he has.
Well, Joel, Jen, we have so many more questions for you, but we are running out of time. So Joel Payne, Jenn Nassour, thank you so much. Hopefully we get a chance to talk to you some more.
Thank you.